Before Germany was Germany, a land of myth and legend, it was a wild, untamed land in the very heart of Europe, a place where nature reigned supreme and the echoes of ancient spirits lingered in the air. Imagine dense, sprawling forests, their canopies so thick that sunlight struggled to reach the ground, wide, meandering rivers carving their way through the landscape, and small scattered villages clinging to the edges of the wilderness. The people who inhabited this land weren't Germans, in the way we understand it today, not yet, but rather a diverse patchwork of independent tribes, each with its own unique identity, like the fierce Cherusci, known for their resistance to outsiders, the Suebi, a large and powerful confederation of tribes, and the Goths, who would eventually migrate and leave their mark on the wider world. They lived a simple life, dwelling in small fortified wooden villages, their homes built to withstand the harsh elements and the threat of rival tribes. Their days were spent farming the land, hunting in the forests for sustenance, and all too often, fighting for survival against neighboring clans and the unforgiving forces of nature. There was no single unifying king ruling over them, no central authority to dictate their lives. Instead, society was organized around independent clans, each fiercely protective of its own territory, with its own chief, its own laws, and its own unique customs and traditions. Loyalty to one's clan was paramount, and a man's worth was measured by his bravery in battle, his skill as a warrior, and his adherence to the ancient codes of honor. Their world was built not on written records, but on rich oral traditions, passed down through generations. Their history, their laws, their beliefs, all were preserved in epic tales, songs, and a deep spiritual connection to the land around them. They worshipped a pantheon of powerful gods and goddesses, figures like Woden, the god of wisdom and war, and Donar, the mighty god of thunder. They were skilled artisans, crafting tools and weapons from the resources they found around them, working with iron and bronze to create the implements they needed to survive. Outsiders, particularly those from the more civilized lands to the south, would later dismissively call them barbarians, but in reality, their society was far more vibrant, complex, and nuanced than those outsiders could ever understand. Then, from the south, like a rising tide, came the Romans, an empire built on stone roads, aqueducts, and the unwavering discipline of its legions. The Romans looked upon this land and saw not a collection of independent tribes, but a wild frontier ripe for conquest, a territory to be tamed and brought under the control of the Roman eagle. The stage was now set for a monumental clash of civilizations, a collision between the organized might of Rome and the fierce independence of the Germanic tribes. This fateful encounter would begin to draw the first faint tentative lines on the map, lines that would, centuries later, solidify into the borders of what would one day become Germany. The world of the tribes, a world of ancient traditions and fierce independence, was about to be changed forever by the arrival of a new power. The story of Germany, a story of conflict, resilience, and the forging of a nation, was truly about to begin its long and winding journey. From the flickering tribal fires of the north to the looming shadow of Rome in the south, a new chapter in the history of Europe was opening, a chapter filled with both promise and peril. When Rome's legions marched north, their intentions were clear: to expand the empire's reach and bring new territories under Roman control. Their military might was unmatched, their discipline legendary. But as they ventured deeper into the dense, dark forests of Germania, they met fierce resistance, a challenge unlike any they had faced before. The Germanic tribes, fiercely independent and deeply connected to their land, were not willing to yield. The tribes fought with cunning guerrilla tactics, using the environment to their advantage. They knew the forests intimately, every path, every shadow. They were masters of ambushing and vanishing into the trees, striking quickly and disappearing before the Roman legions could effectively respond. This constant harassment took a toll on the Roman soldiers, both physically and mentally. The Romans, masters of open battle and organized warfare, found their usual strategies ineffective in this unfamiliar terrain. Their formations were disrupted, their supply lines stretched thin. They struggled in this wild terrain, bogged down by the dense undergrowth and constantly threatened by unseen enemies. The forests of Germania presented a challenge that tested the limits of Roman military prowess. The turning point came in 9 AD at the Battle of the Teutoburg Forest, a devastating defeat that would forever alter the course of Roman expansion. It was there, in the heart of the forest, that Arminius, a Germanic leader who had once served in the Roman army, led the tribes to annihilate 3 Roman legions, a catastrophic loss that sent shockwaves through the empire. Rome's expansion ground to a halt, and the Rhine River became the effective limit of their reach. The Rhine became more than just a geographical feature. It became a cultural and political boundary, a line in the sand separating the Roman world from the Germanic territories. Roman forts and cities like Cologne and Mainz sprang up along the frontier, serving as both military outposts and centers of trade and cultural exchange. These settlements became melting pots, blending Roman and tribal worlds, creating a unique cultural landscape. The tribes, while maintaining their own distinct identities, learned from Roman technology and organization, adopting new methods of agriculture, construction, and warfare. The Romans, in turn, were both fascinated and wary of their neighbors, recognizing their strength and resilience, and engaging in both diplomacy and conflict. This long standoff, this constant interaction and tension, shaped a new identity for both sides, a complex interplay of Roman and Germanic influences. It was a fusion of Roman and Germanic elements, a blending of traditions, languages, and beliefs that would lay the foundation for the future of Europe. The Rhine wasn't just a border, a line on a map. It was a dynamic zone of interaction, a place where cultures collided and new identities were forged. It was a meeting point of 2 worlds, a place where the seeds of a new civilization were sown. The seeds of medieval Europe, with its unique blend of Roman and Germanic heritage, were sown here along the banks of the Rhine. The legacy of this divide, this cultural and political frontier, would echo for centuries, shaping the map of Europe and influencing the course of Western civilization. Centuries later, after the monumental fall of Rome, the echoes of its once great empire still resonated across the European landscape. The political and social structures that had defined the continent for so long were irrevocably altered, leaving a void that many sought to fill. Europe was now a patchwork of smaller kingdoms, each vying for power and influence. Fragmented territories ruled by ambitious lords and kings dotted the map, a stark contrast to the unified dominion of the Roman era. Among these rulers emerged Charlemagne, the powerful king of the Franks, a figure who would leave an indelible mark on European history. He harbored a grand vision: to unite the West once more, forging a new Christian empire that would rival the glory of Rome. This ambition fueled his conquests and shaped his reign. Through relentless military campaigns, he conquered vast lands, expanding his kingdom and bringing diverse populations under his rule. His conquests extended deep into the heart of Europe, including much of what we know today as modern Germany, a region inhabited by various Germanic tribes. He didn't just conquer, he sought to convert, forcing the Saxons, a pagan people, to embrace Christianity, solidifying his power and expanding the reach of the church. In the year 800, a pivotal moment occurred. The Pope, recognizing Charlemagne's power and influence, crowned him Emperor of the Romans, a symbolic act with profound implications. This coronation marked a significant turning point. A Germanic king, now bestowed with the title of Emperor, was attempting to revive the grandeur and legacy of the Roman Empire. Charlemagne established his capital at Aachen, transforming it into a vibrant center of learning, attracting scholars and fostering intellectual pursuits. Aachen became a hub of culture, where art flourished, manuscripts were meticulously copied, and a renewed interest in classical knowledge sparked a mini-renaissance. But the reign of Charlemagne, like all empires, was finite. After his death, the vast realm he had painstakingly assembled began to crumble. His empire fractured under the weight of internal divisions and external pressures. Its unity shattered into smaller, competing entities. The Treaty of Verdun, a landmark agreement, formally split the Carolingian Empire into 3 distinct kingdoms, setting the stage for future conflicts and alliances. From this division, East Francia emerged, a territory that would eventually form the core of what we recognize as modern-day Germany. Within the fragmented landscape of East Francia, the nascent idea of a distinct German kingdom began to take shape, fueled by shared language, culture, and a desire for self-determination. Yet, even as this sense of German identity grew, true unity remained elusive, with various dukes and princes vying for power and autonomy. Despite the fragmentation, Charlemagne's legacy endured, serving as a blueprint in a way for the eventual formation of both France and Germany, two nations that would profoundly shape the course of European history. His ambitious dream of a single unified empire ultimately faded, succumbing to the forces of division and the ambitions of rival rulers. However, the seeds of nationhood, planted during his reign and nurtured in the aftermath, continued to grow, laying the foundations for the emergence of distinct national identities. And so, the stage was set for centuries of intense rivalry, territorial disputes, and enduring division that would characterize the complex and often turbulent history of Europe. After Charlemagne, the eastern lands charted their own course. In 962, Otto I was crowned emperor, launching the Holy Roman Empire. But this empire was a loose confederation, hundreds of kingdoms, duchies, and cities, all fiercely independent. The emperor was elected, not absolute, and power was scattered. This decentralized system fostered cultural diversity, but constant rivalry. Instead of a single German state, there were Bavarians, Saxons, and Hamburgers under one messy umbrella. The Holy Roman Empire became the backdrop for German life for 800 years. It was a world of knights, cathedrals, and trading cities, but also endless local squabbles. Unity was elusive, but a shared German identity slowly took root. The empire endured, imperfect, chaotic, but uniquely German. By the 1500s, discontent with the Catholic Church was boiling over. Martin Luther, a German monk, challenged church corruption and the sale of indulgences. His 95 Theses, spread by the printing press, ignited the Protestant Reformation. Luther defied the Pope and Emperor, translating the Bible into German so ordinary people could read it. The Reformation shattered religious unity and plunged Germany into decades of conflict. Princes seized the chance to break from Rome and assert independence. The result? A divided Germany, torn by faith and politics. The stage was set for war and transformation. The 30 Years' War devastated Germany, but from the ruins, Prussia rose. Prussia built a powerful, disciplined state centered on its army. Rivalry with Austria dominated German politics, but Prussia's victories under Frederick the Great changed the balance. The old Holy Roman Empire faded, replaced by dozens of small states. Otto von Bismarck, Prussia's Iron Chancellor, united Germany through war and cunning diplomacy. In 1871, after defeating France, the German Empire was proclaimed at Versailles. Centuries of division ended. Germany was finally one nation. A new power had arrived in Europe. Unified Germany became an industrial giant, but also restless and ambitious. Under Kaiser Wilhelm II, it sought global power, building a navy and fueling rivalries. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand in 1914 triggered World War I. Germany fought a brutal two-front war, ending in defeat and revolution. The Treaty of Versailles imposed harsh penalties, breeding resentment and economic chaos. The Weimar Republic emerged, progressive on paper, but fragile and beset by crisis. Hyperinflation, political violence, and humiliation haunted the new democracy. Germany's wounds ran deep, setting the stage for further turmoil. The dream of stability was elusive. The scars of war would not heal easily. The Great Depression shattered Germany's fragile democracy. Adolf Hitler and the Nazis rose by promising order and scapegoating minorities. Once in power, Hitler dismantled democracy and unleashed terror, leading to the Holocaust and World War II. Germany's defeat in 1945 left the country in ruins and morally devastated. The Allies divided Germany and Berlin into occupation zones. Cold War tensions split the nation. West Germany became democratic and capitalist. East Germany, communist and repressive. The Berlin Wall became the stark symbol of division. Two Germanys, two worlds, separated by ideology and concrete. The wounds of war and dictatorship ran deep. The hope for unity seemed distant. For decades, West Germany thrived as a democracy, while East Germany stagnated under communist rule. The Berlin Wall stood as a barrier, but the desire for freedom never died. In 1989, peaceful protests and Soviet reforms toppled the East German regime. The Berlin Wall fell, and Germans from both sides celebrated together. In 1990, Germany was officially reunified. Merging two societies was challenging, but the nation persevered. Today, Germany is the economic and political heart of Europe. It has confronted its past and built a stable democratic future. From tribal forests to modern unity, Germany's journey is one of resilience and renewal. The story continues, shaped by history, but always looking forward.